Howdy, guys, and welcome to season 3 of Celebrity Big Brother. Welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house, and welcome to night number 19 of the Overnight Feeds recaps. A good Monday morning to all of y'all. I hope you all enjoyed last night's episode, enjoyed maybe a little Super Bowl. I watched Big Brother, flipped over to watch the very end of the Super Bowl. I think that was the best way to do it. But now we had an episode last night. We also had some overnight feeds, so we'll talk about both of them this morning. Tonight we got a live eviction, live veto, and then the live eviction itself. I kind of like these live vetoes that they're putting into the episodes. It's interesting. Maybe we can do some of that on the regular Big Brother seasons as well. So let's get into it. First of all, before we talk about what actually happened, just a little bit of a recap on how this house is aligned right now. Who we're looking at. We're down to 7 people left? God, it's going so quick. And we've got 3 couples. We've got Carson and Cynthia as couple number 1, Todrick and Miesha as couple number 2, and Lamar and Todd as couple number 3. They're kind of the odd couple, but it's kind of the way it's working as. We've got 3 couples, and then we've got the single player Shayna, which everyone now is convinced is the biggest threat of the entire house. Don't give me a sorry, but that's what's happened. There's been a lot of good strategic talk and convincing and conniving and everything else going on. But again, three couples and an individual. It reminds me a little bit of Big Brother 21 when we had the couple of Tommy and Christy, the couple of Jackson and Holly, Nicole and myself as a couple, and then you had Jessica off on her own. And as it turns out, much as we're seeing maybe this season, Jessica went home, so we ended up with 6 people, kind of 3 couples fighting for the alliance of each other and all that. So I see a little similarity. It's not the same, but a few little similarities in the way this has worked out. All right, so I just wanted to put that out there. That's how everything seems to be falling into place. So let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the episode itself, the TV episode we saw. Cynthia, absolutely furious with Shayna, and the TV episode showed that. She's talking to Shayna, saying, look, if we're working together, if we're part of an alliance, you protect each other. You watch out for each other. Didn't Shayna kind of do that when she pulled Carson off the block? Isn't it because of Shayna that Carson and Cynthia are both still in the house? Yeah, I think you do watch out for each other. You protect. Now, here's the thing. No matter how tight your alliance is, at the end of the day, you play the game for yourself. That's what Big Brother's about. There's only one winner at the end. You can't fault someone for doing that, but you work to help your alliance as well because it helps further you in the game. I think Shayna last week proved where her loyalties were, but doesn't matter to Carson and Cynthia. They've had people whispering in their ear, and Cynthia's upset. She's not happy with Shayna at all. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the evening. We did get an HOH room reveal. We don't get nearly enough of these nowadays with Big Brother, but we got to see Carson actually go into his room and check everything out, see his pictures and all that. It's nice just to see people enjoying a moment that doesn't have a lot to do with gameplay. It's just about them connecting back with their home, being able to share their pictures, families, etc., with everyone else in the house. And so I like seeing that. Now, here's the Miesha didn't attend that HOH. She stayed downstairs and said, hell no, I'm not going up there. Couple of things on that. First of all, during a regular season, at least during my season, we had to show up for the reveal. There wasn't any ifs, ands, or buts. I believe if I recall correctly, the HOH wasn't allowed to open up the door and go inside until everyone was there and ready to go in. If someone had refused, I'm not sure exactly what Big Brother would have done, because during our season, no one refused. Because why do you want to intentionally alienate the brand new HOH? You could hate this person with a passion, but you go up there and you smile and say congratulations, and oh, look, incredible pictures, and oh, look at the great food you got. If you're really not happy with it, you leave pretty quickly, but you have to show up. Miesha says, I'm not playing that game. I'm staying down here. She stays down below. Now, here's the thing. This happens, right? We see it as part of this episode, so we know what has happened since then. The HOH reveal occurs immediately after the HOH has occurred, later that night, after Carson's been declared the winner. At that time, she thought she was going home. She kind of given up all hope, and so I guess she's thinking, what's the worst she can do? You're already planning to boot me anyway, right? So that's the motivation for why she chose not to go up there. But another reason why you always go up there, because things change and you never know when you may see a little glimpse of salvation. And suddenly, I don't think Carson will hold it against Miesha, but some people would. So you always kiss up and smile and do what you have to do while you're in the house. Miesha didn't do that. We'll see if it has an impact or not. Probably not, but we'll see. People don't forget that stuff, though. All right, so let's talk about this whispering that's gone on. Todrick and Miesha, Todrick especially, brilliant. Brilliant the way he has turned the biggest threat in his house away from Miesha, his partner, and towards Shayna. I'm amazed that it worked, but work it did. How did Carson and Cynthia not realize how advantageous it is that Miesha and Todrick just happened to throw Shayna under the bus while Miesha is on the block? If they had all this information that Shayna was working with them instead of with Carson and Cynthia, or in addition to, they sure didn't tell Carson and Cynthia any of this news beforehand, when you could say, well, we're watching out for each other because we don't like the way she's playing. Yeah, you could throw out a lot of excuses for why you're sharing that information. But when you wait until your partner, part of your alliance is on the block, and then suddenly you spill the beans to the other side, Cynthia and Carson have to realize that there's ulterior motives and objectives to spilling this information. They aren't telling Cynthia and Carson this because they want to be nice and kind and because of anything to do with integrity and the way Big Brother is played. Nah, it's to protect Miesha. Cynthia and Carson should know better than that. It blows me away that they were so gullible that they fell for it. Now, Carson, at one point, I think it's during the episode, he says, if just Todrick had come to me or just Miesha, maybe I wouldn't have believed it. But when both of them come together, well, then I got to consider it. No, you don't. They talked together. They figured out what they were going to tell you ahead of time, and you fell for it, Carson. I got to say, I'm just a little bit disappointed. But hey, applause to the duo of Miesha and Todrick who made it happen. It looks like now things could change. We've got a live veto tonight. Everything could go out the window if Shayna wins that veto. But at least for now, Miesha has a possibility of surviving. A good possibility, I think. So yeah, a little more. I gotta get off my soapbox on this because I was amazed when I watched all this over the last few days. Shayna was playing both sides originally. Nothing wrong with that. That's a standard strategy that a lot of people utilize. She's playing both sides. She's trying to keep everyone happy, trying to stay off everyone's radar. But she and Chris Kirkpatrick, they kind of drew a line in the sand last week, didn't they? When she pulled Carson off, didn't pulling Carson off pretty much declare to Todrick and Miesha where the loyalty was for Shayna? You would think so. You would think Carson and Cynthia would recognize that as well, but they don't. Here's the thing. I think Cynthia is a lot like Todd. Both of them are too focused on past events and past relationships rather than looking at the current here and now about how people are working together and who's loyal to who. Yes, Cynthia voted to evict Todd over Teddy way back the first eviction cycle, but things have changed since then. Todd shouldn't hold that against Cynthia. In just the same way, Cynthia and Carson, yes, find out that Shayna's perhaps been trying to kiss up and be nice to the other side as well. But when she took off Carson, they made the declaration. Carson and Cynthia aren't accepting that or recognizing that. Crazy times in the Big Brother house. All right. At one point early in the day, we've got Cynthia talking to Todrick. She's saying, look, I don't think Miesha would make up lies about Shayna to us. I just don't think that she would do it because the fans would hate Todrick and Miesha if they did that, or they'd hate Miesha if she made up the kind of stuff that she's been telling us. So there's no way she would do that. Well, too many people in this house are not realizing or recognizing that Big Brother's a game. That there's different rules of how you play Big Brother as opposed to outside the house. It's like playing poker. You can be the biggest bluffer, the biggest ass, whatever you want while you're playing poker, but that shouldn't affect how people treat you and think about you outside the game, because it is just a game. I would hope, I'm not sure it's going to be the case, but I would hope that, just like they say, everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Everything that happens in the Big Brother house should stay in the Big Brother house. It's a horrible pressure cooker of a situation in terms of stress, and it's designed to bring out the worst in people. You don't expect people, you don't think about what a person is like based on what you see in the Big Brother house. And I'm not just saying that to the people inside the house. I'm saying it to all of y'all viewers out there as well, because I've seen a lot of real hate developing against a couple of the house guests in this house. And I get it. I absolutely get it based on what some people have said in there and all that. But just take it with a grain of salt that the way people respond in the house may not be the way they are in real life. Just make that assumption, because for the most part, I think that's probably true. Judge them based on what happens outside the house, not what happens inside the house. All right, I'll get off my soapbox. We'll move on. All right, we do have a little gameplay strategy talk as well. Miesha is mentioning to Todrick that Carson has offered to her to go ahead and get rid of Shayna instead of Miesha, if Miesha will agree to leave Carson and Cynthia alone for the next HOH. Because remember, Carson can't play in the next HOH. Cynthia had shown herself to be a real comp beast, so they're a little bit worried about their position next week, as they should be. So he's saying, look, we'll leave you alone, Miesha. We'll go after Shayna, and we're all safe this week, but you got to leave us alone. And Miesha agrees. She says, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. She tells Todrick that a little bit later, and Todrick says, well, I guess I'll just have to win HOH, so that rule, that agreement doesn't apply. Cynthia and Carson better be careful. Let's assume Miesha does win the next HOH. Would she honor that deal once Shayna is gone? Would she keep Cynthia and Carson off the block, which means that she has to put up Lamar and Todd instead? I don't see that in a million years. Is this an HOH that Miesha may throw a little bit? I don't know if she'd go that far. I don't think she's the kind of person that ever throws anything. But if she sees Todrick right up there with her, if it's kind of event that she knows who's doing well, and she thinks Todrick can win instead, she'll throw that right over to him, I do believe. And then Cynthia and Carson, I think, will go up on the block. They'll rue the day that they didn't work better with Shayna. I just see it coming. We'll see. We'll see. It's all going to happen tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Todrick says he'll just win instead. We've got Shayna talking to, and I didn't see this actual conversation, but I saw the aftermath. Cynthia told Carson that Shayna had approached her and said, hey, I'd still like to work with you. Can we work together? And I guess Cynthia said, yeah, I'm not talking game to you today. Let's just leave it alone. We'll talk about it later. That makes sense. Wait till after, well, I say that. I normally I'd say wait till after the veto, and then you have these conversations. You can't do that when it's a live veto and a live eviction following right after. You better get things ironed out beforehand. So maybe they'll talk about that a little bit today. But Cynthia has no desire to work with Shayna. She tells Carson, says, why would she even think that there's any trust with her at this point in time? Well, there should be. Because if Shayna goes home, whatever, then she goes home. If for some reason Shayna wins that veto and doesn't go home, it is to Cynthia's advantage to say, sure, Shayna, I know we've had our friction and all that, but we're good. We're fine. What if Shayna doesn't just win the veto, but wins the HOH? Cynthia ought to be thinking about all situations and making nice with Shayna as much as she can, because you never know when you may need that vote or that particular person supporting you. But Cynthia says, I don't trust her. I'm not going to work with her. There's no way. You don't burn bridges inside the Big Brother game. All right, Cynthia is talking to Carson, says that she wants all the conversations from this point on to be together instead of any one-on-one. She doesn't like that. I've never liked that approach. I get it. You don't want someone saying something to you, and then later they say something else to someone else, and it becomes this big he said, she said. Yeah, I get all the arguments why you don't want to have one-on-ones, but I think it just means that people don't ever come to you with the really solid, really inside information. If they've got to say everything, not just to you, but to someone else, it feels too much like there's not trust. And if there's not trust, then why should you be telling information anyway? So I've never been big on that no one-on-one kind of conversations, but Cynthia wants to play that way, and we'll see. It does cut down to he said, she said, so maybe there's something to it. We got a big Valentine's Day party. We did see it. I think feeds were down for an hour and a half, and But they had a big party. They got a camera. They got some costumes, kind of decorations and stuff. They got food. They got music, which is a big deal inside the Big Brother house. And they got, I think, some wine and some liquor and all that, which they all like. But I think the music's more than anything else. We got that for 4th of July during my season. They shut down the feeds so they could play as much music as they wanted to play. And we just got to step away from the game and just have fun. And hearing music and songs, singing songs together. The whole, my season, all of us sang Bohemian Rhapsody, except for Nick, who has never heard of Bohemian Rhapsody, which still amazes me. But it's just a fun time to get away. And it looks like house guests enjoyed this Valentine's Day party as well. I'd be curious to see if Shayna participated or not. She spent a lot of alone time yesterday away from everyone else, just kind of, she seems like she's done with it right now. She sees the writing on the wall. She knows if she doesn't win veto, she's probably out the door. And she was acting like that yesterday. You can't do it. You gotta fight to the very end and try to convince people, make your arguments and all of that. She tried with Cynthia and she got shut down, but yeah, they had a big Valentine's party, enjoyed all of that. We did have one little situation where Shayna apparently earlier in the day tried to create a little mistrust between Todrick and Miesha by mentioning that she had a final 2 with Todrick. But Todrick, I didn't see that conversation, but I saw the aftermath, and Todrick was basically saying, yeah, I'm glad I told you that I had this ahead of time so that you're not surprised by it, Miesha. And so she's like, yeah, no, we already knew about it. No big deal. So no impact because of that. We've got Todrick and Miesha working this a little later in the evening, working on Todd. They want to make sure they hold on to Todd and Lamar on their side, and that there's no worry that there's always gonna be worry, but they spent a lot of time talking to Todd and saying, yeah, no, Shayna said all of this stuff. We're not making any of this stuff up, Todd. She I don't care how convinced you think she is that she's not lying. She's lying because she said all of this to us. And I feel like right now Todd and Lamar are probably more on the Todrick Miesha side than they are Carson Cynthia, which is yet another reason why Carson and Cynthia better be very, very worried and nervous about this next cycle. Because I think they're the big targets up there this week. So, all right, let me finish this off. I feel, I don't know, maybe it's because it's Monday that I've just been a little bit on a sour mood for everything. So let me just keep it up for a second before we shut it down. I continue to be a little bit disappointed that so many of these house guests are making this game personal. That they're saying things that I just feel like they're a little beyond the bounds of what should be allowed in Big Brother. I mean, no, I'm not saying they should be called out. It is what it is, but you don't need to be talking about anyone being a disappointment to their families or to their fans or anything else while you're in the house. You shouldn't be basing the way someone maybe behaved in the house with what your perception of is outside the house. I've seen comments about some things that I would say are unkind that people are saying about other house guests. And I just don't like seeing it. It's play the game. When you get done, all 11 get together, hug each other, say, what an incredible shared experience. Of, yeah, you got me. Or, yeah, you really, whatever. At the end of the day, you hug each other. You say, all right, we're going our own ways, but we'll continue to have this shared experience. And you got to go away with a smile and all of that, but not everyone's doing that. There's people that are starting to make this personal, and I just don't like to see it. It hurts my heart when I see that. All right, off the soapbox once again. We finally, all right, one more thing. Here's the other thing. They're saying these things about people. It's bad in any season to have some of these comments made, but even worse when these house guests who are getting evicted aren't going into sequester. No. They're going home or hanging out wherever they want to hang out. They get to read, as far as I know, they get to read and see and hear everything that's been said while they were in the house after they get out of the house. There's no secrets that you have with a sequestered juror. So when you're talking bad about someone, you're talking about someone who may be casting a vote to either reward or deny you $250,000. So from a strategic, forget from a personal and just a nice, polite standpoint, from a strategic standpoint, it doesn't make sense to be so critical of some of other people. Why not just say, it hurt me, but it's great gameplay, or you got me, and applause to you. I respect your game, whether you do or not. Say it because it may count when votes are cast. But that's not happening. And We'll see the repercussions later. I hope they all get together at the end, but they may not. All right, now I'm off the soapbox, at least for today. All right, finally, we've got, I don't know, house guests maybe go to bed about 2 o'clock or so. It was not late. Everyone's getting ready for the competitions, the show tonight and everything. I called it a night at that point too. Apparently there was some kind of alarm that went off. They heard some people talking on speakers afterwards. Not sure what it was, but apparently it spooked Todd and Lamar, Todd especially. But there was some kind of alarm that happened in the house. They're still there. Everything seems okay. So that false alarm or something else going on. Maybe a wall yeller who picked a very bad time because they were all asleep and indoors. I don't know what the deal was, but some kind of alarm went off that I did see notation of as well. All right, guys, that's it. Tonight, live eviction. But before live veto and then the live eviction. Someone's going to go home. My predictions, I think it's Shayna's going home. Now she's won 2 vetoes. She could win a third, and I don't know. Has anyone won 3 vetoes in a row? Casey or someone else? I don't recall, but I think Shayna will probably go home. If she doesn't go home, then the big decision is going to be, if Shayna has protection, then the big decision is, do we send Miesha home or do we send Todd home? I don't know. I don't know about that one. We'll find out. They better be if that happens, they better be thinking about who possibly could win the next HOH. It certainly could be Shayna or Carson or Cynthia. I don't know. We'll see. The fact that Miesha's not going to be able to, I take that back. Carson can't compete. Miesha and Todrick can. So take that for what you will. All right, guys, I'm going to shut it down. Y'all have a good Monday. And it's Valentine's Day. Give love and hugs to your loved ones, be them spouses, partners, parents, children, siblings. Everyone deserves love out here. So enjoy your Valentine's Day. Say nice things about other people. Do what the Big Brother house guests aren't doing. Y'all have a happy Valentine's Day. I will be back tomorrow morning. We'll talk about this veto. We'll talk about the eviction, and then we're going to see how it works out with the last 6 people, whoever they may be. Till then, guys, SKD 143. Y'all have a great one. Cheers, my friends. Bye. Happy Valentine's Day.